Welcome to the Reddit gang. We post the best content of Reddit every day. So make sure to subscribe and activate the notification bell. Also check out the meme gang on Facebook and Instagram for the finest memes. Enjoy the video. People on Reddit answer, have you ever woke up in the middle of a dream and the dream was so interesting that you wanted to go back to sleep to see the end of it? If so, what was the dream? I had a nightmare a couple years back, and I still remember some bits. I was in a city where there was an outbreak of a disease. Infected people would start leaking black stuff from their eyes and noses and attack non-infected people. For some reason, I was walking in a part of the city that was completely deserted a couple days after the outbreak. Very faintly I heard someone crying. I approached and found out that it came from a backyard. If I wanted to see who it was, I had to climb a high fence. When I walked into the backyard I was fucking horrified. There was a crying little kid, like 3 years old on a leash, tied to a pole. I didn't dare to approach, because that child was leaking milk stuff from the nose. I woke up after this, and was still horrified. The parents had to leave their child who was still alive, chained to a pole outside. That fucked me up for a couple of days. I dreamt that I was part of some Eastern European resistance movement who had to speak in code and hide out in abandoned manors in the forest to plan our attacks against some fascist regime. We enlisted the Pope to help us, but when we went to meet him he has double-crossed us because the regime we were fighting somehow knew the Pope was gay and was going to tell everyone. I woke up then, not knowing if my resistance group was executed, or if we escaped somehow. I call it my gay Pope dream. I learned I could fly, but I had to teach myself. Woke up right as I was gearing up for the big test to see how high I could go. Forced myself back to sleep, and let me tell you, flying in a dream is way too fucking fun. I used to have lucid dreams in my early to mid-20s. As soon as I'd realize I was asleep, I'd start flying or just rising to the ceiling because it was a cool way to test it. Then my immediate thought would be, WHO, should I pretend sleep with? And the excitement over that possibility woke me up every damn time. Was exploring a jungle with a group of, I assume, friends. We ended up discovering some kind of temple, but it was dark so we decided to set up camp. I was charged with gathering dry wood and leaves for the fire. While machining my way through vines, I heard my name being screamed by one of the group members in a terrified way, repeatedly. Woke up to see my mom yelling my name and to get the fuck up already. I never found out what that temple was. I once dreamt that all of my family and closest friends were on the world's largest cruise ship. Along the way, we somehow were exposed to radioactive waste that gave us all superpowers or other mutations. I remember so vividly being able to use my mind to move objects with ease, and I threw donuts at my brother, whose skin had turned as hard as stone. This one girl on the cruise that we all universally hated, for reasons I can't remember, received a really random and useless mutation. She grew a really fat lizard tail, like a leopard gecko who has eaten a lot lol. She was crying about how ugly she was now and all we could do was laugh. Then I woke up. I have a story about when the opposite of this happened. It was a fucking epic fantasy dream, let me tell ya. Evil wizard of some sort that I'm pretty sure was my 8th grade math teacher, kidnapped Princess, a worthless but snappy sidekick that was my best friend IRL. This dream had everything. So I beat the bad guy, rescued the princess and brought her back to a village of, I think Ewoks or something, I dunno. Big celebration, everybody went hooray and stuff, and then it didn't end. We just kinda stood there looking at each other. It felt like a long time. Ewoks just kinda start milling around and doing their everyday shit. Made some small talk with the princess. And then eventually the dream ended and I woke up. It was a strange one. I had one where I was wandering through my hometown for what felt like hours, and eventually the dream became lucid. And the dream dragged on, and I was just walking around looking at stuff. Eventually I started thinking that I'm probably late for school, since the dream went on for so long, and I tried to figure out a way to get myself to wake up. I tried lying down on the ground and thought that people walking on me would probably do it, but it didn't. I didn't feel a thing. So I lied down in the middle of the road and a car hit me. And right before it hit me I woke up. In the middle of the night. I had one this morning. I'm a heavy sleeper, and whatever goes around me tends to get in my dreams. It's a curse at times, but this morning I had an Amber Alert at 3:30 a.m., and my dream went from being okay to my friends getting incinerated by a nuke. I was the only one that survived, but by the time I was about to leave the bunker to see the devastation, I woke up turning off the alert. I had a nightmare about being a teenage girl with a group of friends on bikes hiding from and hunting down a shadow monster that killed dogs, and we tracked it down to some abandoned house and tried to rescue the dogs, but one of the dogs started barking and I had to try and calm it down before the monster came and got us, and my friends screamed from another room but they do. Then I woke up and I will never know if those dogs survived. I have a crush of 3 years, who rejected me, yet I dreamt about being with her as couples. I know this will never happen in real life, so when I woke up, I forced myself to sleep again. Unfortunately, that was the last of it. I had a dream that I had a bunch of birds and snakes just living in my kitchen. They were my pets, and I was cuddling my snakes on the couch, watching Netflix while my birds were chilling out, flying on top of my fridge and stuff. It was a great dream, and it was so vivid that when I was waking up, I thought, crap, I left my snakes on the couch out with the birds. I hope they didn't eat one of the birds. I was disappointed when I came back to my senses and there were no animals in my home, but relieved that I wasn't such a negligent pet owner that my imaginary snakes ate my imaginary birds. My situation was a bit different. I was once having a pretty vivid nightmare about a zombie apocalypse. In the dream, I was running from a horde and I ducked into a random house. Time then passed, in the dream, and I put my head down to rest while I listened to growls coming from outside. At that exact second I woke up. I was relieved that it was just a dream because it seemed so real. However, about 10 minutes later I fell back to sleep and the dream actually resumed. I remember thinking, oh my god, this isn't a dream within the dream. The rest was even more vivid and terrifying because I was convinced it was real. That was a pretty tough night, but it was interesting how my dream managed to resume itself, and it did it in such a way that I was convinced the incident was actually happening. My small 10-minute wake-up period seemed like the dream. My ex and I got back together and she told me she's pregnant. I felt happy and fulfilled like never before. After I woke up, the entire day was so ruined I didn't even know how to deal with it. Just wanted to dream for the rest of my life. This is also the opposite, but one time I had a dream that I was in my hometown airport, a pretty big one, when suddenly a shooting started happening down the terminal. I used to work at an airport, so I found the nearest worker and had them open the nearest door out onto the tarmac. We started evacuating people as the shooting came closer. Somehow I was the last person to go through the door. When I reached the tarmac, there wasn't a single person in sight. Even the noises from inside the airport had stopped. Up above me the clouds were blacker than night, and purple lightning was striking frequently. As I walked out into the middle of the tarmac staring into the heavens, airplanes started crashing down all around me very cinematically. Honestly, the sight took my breath away, and not in a good way. It was very dreadful and dramatic. I can still see it in my head if I focus. I woke up just as a 737 crashed right on top of me. I have a pretty crazy imagination. The end of the world on a beach. I was getting ice cream for my family, when suddenly the sun went purple, started spinning and fell behind the horizon. All the sky followed, replaced by darkness. Gravity broke, we went down and couldn't move anymore. All the world around us started to flatten inexorably, slowly drifting towards the dark rift at the end. A voice started to call different names and people got sucked into the night. Suddenly it was my turn. I glided to the edge freaking out, and as I fell over the horizon, I realized I didn't have a body anymore. I was just a gaze traveling in space. It lasted a very long time. We passed all the beautiful planets and slowly left the solar system. Then we traveled across the galaxy and left it too. Somewhere far ahead, in the total darkness, faint lights started to appear. Stars and constellations I never saw before. I knew at this moment that they were waiting for us, and even if it takes forever, we will reach them. And once we do, all our questions will be answered. Finally we'll know what's out there and why we exist. We were getting closer and closer. Almost there, I could feel it won't be so long. And then my brain chose to wake up. I desperately thought, no, not now, just a moment more, but it was too late, the dream was gone. I was so pissed. Sometimes I think my own brain laughs at me. I had a dream a few years back that I was at this party and met a girl. We hit it off, really connected on a lot of things, but then it hit me, I was dreaming. I told her that I was bummed because I just realized it was a dream. She didn't believe me, so I asked her what her last name was. She just stared at me blankly. I told her she didn't know cause my brain hadn't given her a last name, but that we should just enjoy the time we have together. Then I woke up and fell back to sleep. I was at another house party. I remember walking around sort of aimlessly until I saw her. She remembered me and we spent the rest of the dream hanging out and holding hands and whatnot. Afterwards, it kinda fucked me up for a few days. Okay, so I was dreaming of something weird that actually turned into the concept for a story I'm writing. So there were two islands that were shaped almost like crescent moons. The inner parts of the moons faced each other, creating a circle of ocean between them. There were two big nations on each with smaller settlements trying to win their affection and trust. The smaller settlements were trying to get in the good favor of the big cities for protection. In the center of the islands was a large sea monster that occasionally attacked the people, so they had huge walls with monster heads on them to try and deter it. Each city had its own politics, societal views, traditions, etc. The coolest thing in my opinion was that even though the cities competed against each other, they still worked together to have a stable economy and made sure each other had the materials to withstand the attacks. I wanted to know more when I woke up. I wrote down everything I could remember, and around a year later I'm still adding to the setting. Just got 10,000 words today and I'm actually really happy about it. Okay, so me and a bunch of people started a band called Opalescent, which was an 8-person a cappella band that sung about global warming and multi-level marketing and politics. There were 3 boys and 4 girls. There were memories and everything. It felt so real, and when I woke up I was upset as hell. I am not Pan, I am talking about the other people, 3 boys, 4 girls and me. Although I understand you're not supposed to be able to read in dreams, I frequently dream I'm sitting in bed reading a great book. It annoys me that I wake up before I finish the book. I've frequently started browsing my Kindle looking for a book I want to finish, only to realize it was something I was dreaming and does not exist in reality. To become a real gangster, follow these easy steps. Smash the like button and comment on this video. Subscribe to the Reddit gang and activate the notification bell. Like our Facebook page. Follow us on Instagram.